Everybody find your chair. Please sit down. We will need to have a line open for the wheelchair to come through. Thank you.
And you can feel free to tell me to pause or go back or whatever you want, and I'll try and follow you as best I can.
Okay.
I was talking with Ed, and we think it'd be good to do it manually in case we need to go back at all.
Yeah.
Instead of the video, it might be a little easier.
For my mom, it's very important, like that.
Yeah.
The pictures have like short explanations of what they are or whatever. I mean, some pictures are self-explanatory, but not all of them. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and put the. This is the first photo here.
Okay.
And I'll just flip through them, and so whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Oh, where do I need to stand? Okay. Thank you. This is very nice. If you have fussy kids, please be kind enough to take them outside. Okay, so this slideshow is about 15 minutes, so please bear with us. Okay, so this would be where my dad lived during his early years here in Belize. It's the place where Isaac and Mildred are living today, and that's the location. This is his truck and his passport photo, and I'm not sure his age. But yeah, this is a truck that he used to drive a lot. his pride and joy. So this is a family photo. You can see that Menno is the chubby baby in Daddy's arms. This is the beginning of foster care for Mom and Dad. The oldest is Ben, and then the one in the front here is Mike, right? And then Albert is in the back. So Mike was their first foster child. Another family picture. This was Ben ordered us to send family pictures because he moved to Canada and he hadn't taken any family pictures, so urgent must build a gemaakt. Je kan bloos eine plum. This was one of the trucks that Dad brought home from the States. The first one. So who got to go? You, Ben? This was Honduras, after Hurricane Mitch. You can see the flooding. This was the morning of our trip that we took in 1997. It was a very special family trip. We were gone for 3.5 months. We literally lived in that van. Actually, family pictures was a nightmare at our family. So these two are both called Klaas Reimer. It's my dad's nephew. Playing card games at Aguacate Lagoon. This was the first health food store. It was much smaller than the one they have today, and that is Abe with my dad. Just got back from the States with a big load. So Dad took one truck and Albert took the other one. This was an accident that my dad had on the Roaring Creek Bridge, and it was in 1996, I believe, and only Paul was along, so Paul had been on the passenger seat that you see hanging over the edge there. And when my mom got there, Paul said, "I kan me mest doodgegrilled." Totally the Lord. I mean, that they didn't go off the bridge. Like, it was just the trailer that was attached to the pickup actually kept them like on the bridge, that they didn't go off. I think this is also Honduras after Hurricane Mitch. Lots of devastation. This was a first aid training, not the EMT training. This was just first aid. It was the first medical training that they received. Was very basic, but my dad was already very excited about it. This was a gathering that they had in memory of the kidnapping. And actually, in this past year, in May, a few months ago, it was 30 years since my dad was kidnapped, and he wanted to throw a big party, but somehow it just never happened. He loved to take pictures of scenery. Ben and Susan's wedding in Canada, 1997. Albert and Eileen's wedding, 99. Our family of 5, just the youngest kids, Mom and Dad spent 6 months in Pennsylvania. That was also in 1997. Abe was there part of the time, yeah. And on Radstad. And then Frank came to join us, so yeah, we kind of took turns, I guess. Also in Pennsylvania, the lady at the side here is Margaret Reimer. dad's niece. Some of his siblings. He always enjoyed going to Canada to visit all his siblings there. These are friends, old buddies from Mennonite Center. I don't know if you heard of that before, but in Belize City they had a place called Mennonite Center, and my dad would, haul all sorts of stuff in his truck. So these were his good buddies from Pennsylvania. And this is at a reunion that they had many years later. Also Pennsylvania, I think we were visiting a museum. More of his brothers just hanging out and having a good time. This is with his sister Tina at a restaurant. They both love to eat at the restaurant. This is Costa Rica. In which year was that? Yeah, several years ago, Mom and Dad went to Costa Rica for a visit, so they really enjoyed that. We just got the 2 little girls, so they were very excited to have a daddy too. And they are getting a ride in the trailer. Mom and Dad's 25th wedding anniversary. Family picture. Cynthia is the baby. Dad with his 2 sisters, Natty and Susie. I think this is what they call a candid shot. Ronald and Tina's wedding. – 2005. Frank and Beth's wedding. This would be Aiden? Not sure. You can tell they used to be younger. This was the first expo that my dad ever had a booth, and I was there, and we worked really hard, and we had a lot of fun, and just very special memories. This was in Belize City. Just a girl from the US. My parents were always having new people over, making new friends. Every color, every race, every culture. So this was very typical. Mom on the hammock and dad is... Okay, all right, so he's handing out Christmas gifts. So this truck was also Dad's pride and joy, and he got to be in the parade at the 60th anniversary, I believe this is 50th anniversary of Spanish Lookout. So he got to drive that in the parade. Story time before bed. So Beth was not able to be here. Hi, Beth. I'm so glad you can watch from online. We love you. This is in the hospital. This is my oldest son, Luke, that passed away recently, so now he is reunited with his grandpa. This would be Brent or Jovan, I'm not sure. Looks like their anniversary or something. Veracruz. Oh, sorry. This is when Aiden was born in Veracruz, Mexico, and they came to spend several weeks with Abe and Roni there. See, he loved my mama. The kids had just gotten their Christmas gifts. This is a very recent picture of their youngest grandson, Sage. Aiden and Sage with Grandpa. This is their 40th wedding anniversary, so that would be almost 10 years ago. When we asked my dad what color he wanted at the anniversary, he said, "I want something of every color." So he loved all sorts of different colors. Playing game with the grandkids. We had the old-fashioned FOSPA like they had at their wedding. And they're actually wearing the same clothes, right, for that you had on your wedding day? Well, Mom had her original wedding dress on. With the grandkids, Amber and Kiona. I think they're picking mangoes, so that would be like a big concrete water tank, and they're on top of it picking mangoes. I don't know, Aiden is getting a writing lesson or something. So this would be Aiden and Amber, I'm guessing. I think this is on the way to Canada for Aunt Mary's funeral. Yeah, that was his oldest sister, and we thought that Dad was kind of on the old side to do this, but he was very determined, so, you know, he didn't take no for an answer. They love the grandkids. This is Abe and Roni, and when they came out of the hospital with baby Aiden. So Aiden was born at 2 pounds. He's a miracle baby, and Mom and Dad were so excited for them. Playing games with Brent and Jovan and Albert. Yes, Dad. Help me out. Who was that kid? I don't know. Steinbeck. You lived here for a year and a half, right? Yeah, so they lived in Steinbeck for a year and a half, and this is all the family that lives in Manitoba. Picnic time. Picking strawberries. So my dad needed a job, so he went to Walmart and they hired him. As a greeter, yes. And he actually was a hero there too, because he caught a lady red-handed that was shoplifting, so yeah. And Jackie said, "Dad, you're a hero." And he was just like, you know, he just shrugged it off, like, yeah, whatever. He loved to, you know, dress up and look sharp. He loved his job. This was his favorite customer, by the way. This was his brothers there in Canada, Uncle Abe, Uncle Benny, Uncle Edwin, Uncle Albert, what? Oh, Dad, and Uncle Peter. So of all these that you see here, only 2 are still alive, and one of those 2 is in the hospital right now. So yeah, we'll not be here forever. Uncle Abe. Wat change maken? I think this is Uncle Albert in Mexico. He passed away just a few months ago. These are his siblings. Family reunion in Manitoba. Is that an apple tree? My dad loves picking apples and eating apples. Okay, what's the story behind this one? Okay, so this would be his parents' farm in Canada, so probably where he was born. It was very important to him where he was born and where he, yeah, you know, like. Oh, wow. So he found it in the attic. So he is this in the same yard?
That's the place where he was born. Needs no explanation.
Self-explanatory. Can you put one back? Wow, so this is the original house where he was born. He loved old harvesting machines. This was on the evening that Mom and Dad came home from Canada after having been gone for, I think, a year and a half. So they were really excited to be back and eating their Belizean fruits again. This was Aunt Nettie's birthday party. With all the grandkids and cousins and uncle, aunts around the table. Family time, very precious. Welcome home. This is at their 40th wedding anniversary. So on your right, you will see Dr. Hidalgo. And he and my dad were very close friends. And he was taking care of Dad in these last few days. And yeah, so they were a good team. Proud of his bride. "49 years of marriage." This was when my mom had a stroke, had to be taken to Guatemala City. It was very, very hard for my dad because he didn't know if she would make it. And we never dreamed that she would one day have to say goodbye to him. We always thought it would be the other way around. This was in the hospital in Guatemala City. Happy anniversary to Grandma and Grandpa. So the grandkids had lots of ideas. They even made bracelets for Grandma and Grandpa to wear. This was, I think, the last time that my dad was at our house for lunch and having a good time with Hadassah. Yeah, yeah, one's mine and the other one's adopted. This was in the hospital also, I think, in Guatemala City. Not sure. If it's not, then correct me on it, but... Nee? Okay, it's not Guatemala. I'm not sure where. Oh, so this is, this is beginning of this year. So my mom has had 3 strokes this year already, so this is one of them. She had to be hospitalized for a few days. So he used to be a ferryman, and every time he would cross the ferry, he would make sure that he would crank it himself. '40th anniversary. Right? No, what is this? This is him in his EMT uniform, and he wore that with lots of pride. Menno doing a selfie. Or maybe teaching mom how to do one. That's a snake in the bush. Yellow jaw. He loved to tell that story. I think it almost bit him, but not quite, or something like that. This was also in Guatemala City when my mom was sick. It was very hard for him. Okay, what's the details on the truck?
The tree in the back of the trailer. It was a very big tree from Yellbach Ranch.
So he cut it up?
He just wanted to prove that he was still good at logging.
Yeah, he would tell all sorts of stories of logging and by country meat and all that stuff, yeah. It's huge. I think they made fence posts of that. No, I'm not sure. Oh, this is the tree in the yard. So yeah, that was a Tabruz tree. And when they cleared that land, they left that one tree standing there. So that was like part of that virgin forest. And then recently, it fell down. And Dad accidentally set fire to it, so it burned for weeks. It was such a weird fire because the inside of the tree was hollow, and yeah, it was. He spent lots of time chopping away and then burning again and then chopping away at it, and it gave him lots of tijdverdrief. Dad hurt his foot? What happened?
No, and he got this got here and he fell off the drum, yeah? Was it like that? Expo.
Then he hurt his foot? Yeah, he hurt his foot, so Mom gets to push him in the wheelchair. Oh yeah, so right there by the old tree, he was working and then he stepped on a screw or a big, like a big bolt or something. So he hurt his foot really bad. In their Sunday best. Right in their front yard. I think this is in Yalbak too, where he loved to be. It kept him young. With his truck again. This was an early morning picnic that we did with all the grandkids and with the cows, kind of trying to keep up the tradition. Beautiful time. Friends and cousins. So the girls are going back to Canada, right? On the way to the airport. This was in January 1 of 2020. Fruit to make juices. That's a big tree. This would be Megan, Catherine, and baby Joshua in Canada. Selling cattle to Guatemala. Menon Az's wedding. My dad spent hours and hours working with Azriela in the health food store, so they've worked together many, many times. Another wedding picture. Chopping away at the tree. He's all tired out and sweaty, but so happy. With his sisters. So this was in Merida in February of this year when my dad went he had some skin cancer, so he had a surgery there, and this was in the restaurant. This is just before the surgery, I think. You can see the cancer there on his face. So my brother once said, wherever Klaas Reimer is, there you will see blood. I think this is baby Carmen. Sorry, maybe it's Hadassah. I'm not sure. Okay, that's Hadassah, sorry. Carmen's in the background. Megan or Catherine? Not sure. So Grandpa bought 2 bicycles on this past Christmas, one for the boys and one for the girls. Thank you, Grandpa. This was on a trip that he came back to Belize when they were living in Canada. So we went to Western Dairies for ice cream. Pennsylvania, 1998. Man, he looks young there. This was all his siblings together in Manitoba, Canada. I think they were only together for about 1 hour, and that's when they took this picture. Yeah, they hadn't all been together in like 50 years. And so when this was finally like a dream come true, this picture was very special to him. He had it enlarged and put in a frame. He was so proud of that picture. And so, yeah, like I said, as of now, 5 of these people are not with us anymore. 2012. Michelle and Jacqueline with Daddy. So Daddy built them a little playhouse. They were so proud of it. I don't know if you know these rednecks, but this was actually a trip that I made to Canada with them, and we were at Ben and Susan's house, and for some reason Dad went shooting birds or something with Denver, and then he had to stop and take a little break, and he was eating apples, and this is like a totally candid shot. It was hilarious. This was at the expo just before COVID started, and yeah, they're just having a grand old time. They were so proud of their sons with their cattle display, and yeah, just sitting down, eating, chilling. So when COVID hit, my dad was right on it. He was out there and handing out live chickens. Albert took him out to Western Dairies for his birthday. His booth at the expo, Reimer's Health Food. Food distribution during COVID. This is in Steinbeck, Manitoba. Grandpa and Logan. Grandpa just got in the door from Canada.
Beting dem Staubarjan und lass sei Tränen fließen für das, was getan. Der Herr für meine Schuld und Not, sich um
Beautiful. for those of you who don't understand German, they're singing about that there's grace for every sinner. My mom always tells of when on their wedding day, when they were sitting close together and singing, maybe for the first time, I don't know, she never knew that Dad had such a handsome voice.
Dad, I miss you. I'm sorry for rejecting so much of your good advice growing up, but I aim to spend the rest of my life making my two fathers in heaven proud. I love you and I'm gonna miss you.
It was an amazing photo to all of us, to me, my sister Michelle, and all over the family. That was a lovely dad to us and everything, and I was appreciated by him, what he did to us when we were little kids and everything. So Dad, I hope you are happy in heaven. I hope I see you soon.
Thank you, Paul and Jacqueline. They were not able to be here today. We're very sad about that, but we're glad that they could watch online, and thank you for the messages. That was very special.
Good evening. Seeing that time is valuable, the day is running along. I wrote something that I wanted to share yet. We heard a lot about Dad helping other people today. He had another side to him. I feel like I'm dating myself because a lot of his EMT work and stuff like that happened after I grew up. He had a keen sense for business, which he displayed when he was but a schoolboy. He realized there was profit to be made when he showed up at school with half a pail of chicle one day, which all sold at recess. The joke was, after recess, the teacher made all the kids spit out the chicle, as it was considered unruly to chew gum during class. And he, the whole time, still thinking that he couldn't afford one for himself. But he did go home with half a pail of coins, and the rest of the kids lost their chicle after recess. That thinking, that he couldn't afford things for himself, frustrated us boys sometimes too. When we had 20 fat steers in the pasture that we couldn't sell, for the market was flooded, but we still ate no steak. More often than we liked, we would find cow tongue, liver, and tail on the menu. We never went hungry. Dad showed his love to his family by working hard and skimping on the spending. He had great joy on getting something for cheap, or rarely if, no, he had great joy on getting something for cheap and rarely, if ever, lost money on a business venture, like selling old chickens, watermelons, beans, fence posts, or wherever he saw an opportunity. He was good of doing math in his head, and account books better match or he wasn't going to bed. I also admired him for engineering talent. He built a toy for us kids for Christmas that had no age limit, weight, or speed restriction. We called it the Mitchell. Many times, our visitors would tell their kids, "Oh, no, you're too big, quickly get off." Then Dad would get on this little wagon that had steering in the front and back and say, "No restrictions." He also built other things to make life easier in many ways. The one trait I've inherited from him that I'm most passionate about is trucking. as I became a truck driver and always will be one in my heart. Keep on trucking, Daddy, till we see you again. Come on up if you want to share. I'll read something from Uncle Willie yet, but feel free to come up. I should do that first. Earlier we heard in a life story that Dad had a close brother of his, which was Uncle Willie. His physical brother. Dad had many spiritual brothers, but this was, and I'll read something from Uncle Willie. Brother Klaas, his passing is a big loss to me. He was a precious brother. I want to share a little of our growing up years. This was in Mexico. We had quite a different nature and didn't always agree, but we always enjoyed working together. When we got ready to move to Belize, he and I painted 55-gallon drums together. His idea was to paint them different colors. When Dad came out and saw, he just looked with wide eyes, but didn't even scold us. Another time in Mexico, Klaas and I were making dirt bricks with a machine that was driven by a tractor power takeoff shaft. He stepped over and his pants got caught and he injured his leg. He couldn't continue working. And as we said earlier, he embroidered in the meantime. After moving to Belize, we were logging together along with a number of other guys. Klaas and I were looking for trees to cut down, and he chopped a vine with a machete but accidentally cut his thumb. We headed to the camp, and as soon as we arrived, he passed out on the bed. I bandaged up his thumb and then tapped him, saying, "It's all done," and he woke up. We spent 1 week at a time in the jungle. There are many other stories and things to mention, but that is all that I'm going to say for now. I've had many phone conversations with Klaas in recent years where we shared our enjoyment of the Lord with each other. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to read something that Peter Reimer, which would be the son to Willie, sent. Aunt Naita and family, I am so sorry for your loss. He was someone I thought very highly of and had the utmost respect for. I saw Uncle Klaas as one, when he said something, he meant it. I firsthand experienced one such encounter. My mom and dad were on a trip to Mexico, and my older sister was in charge at home, and if there was need for discipline, Uncle Klaas would be called. Well, there was one such situation, and I was terrified. I remember sitting in a living room, and it was laid out plain in plain words that what had happened was wrong, and if there was another event as this, there would be further discipline. That was spanking, and that would be spanking, would be the next step. However, I always loved to go to their place in many other events. A few years back, while they were in Steinbach, Manitoba, each time they came over, we met somewhere. It was always good to see them. I just really enjoyed their company. I was thinking of what my dad had all taught me, and he taught me a lot. I could never say all of it, but one thing I remember, one time I was learning to drive the tractor and plowing in the field, and he would go along in the first round to make sure that I was able to handle it. And I just felt it wasn't working. I wasn't able to drive straight. I was stalling the tractor all the time. And so on. But when we finished the round, he said, I'll go home now, I think it will work. And sure enough, it worked. And so that is something, I was probably even a little bit early teens or even a little bit before. And a lesson for me today I want to do is allow my sons to make mistakes and be okay if they don't do everything perfect, and give them a chance to learn. So that's definitely something that I've learned from my dad that is very important and relevant for me today.
We've heard a lot about Dad taking care of people and his business ventures and all of that he didn't take no for an answer, and he all that good stuff. But I don't know, for me one of the more amazing things back in 97 when they spent 6 months in Pennsylvania. And I just happened to, I got to join him there for a couple of weeks, and it was right around Valentine's Day that I showed up, and I had not seen my mom and dad like that before. They were all, I don't know, just all smiles and all happy, and Dad had bought Mom chocolate Valentine box, and he was just so amazed. This is a brand new world for him. It's the first time he'd ever bought Mom a Valentine chocolate or anything, and he had discovered a new world, a new side of him, that this whole romantic side that nobody had, none of us knew about, and he didn't, he was just as surprised as anybody else. But yeah, after that, I think they went out for their anniversary every year after that, and it was fantastic to see. It just really encouraged me, and I think all of us to it was just the romantic side to their marriage.
I'll just quickly add a little bit to that story. So Dad had never heard of Valentine's Day before, I think. It was just completely new to him, but he was with his work crew, and they were on their way home for the weekend, and they stopped at the store to go shopping for their wives, and Dad just stayed in the car. He didn't know what they were doing, and they're like, Klaas, you're not gonna come, you have to buy something, for your wife and your daughter, whatever. And he walked into the store, and he told us later he was looking around, and he was clueless, what. And all these other guys are buying all these teddy bears and whatnot, and he was okay. Finally, he saw there's chocolates and heart shaped, and he came home. He was like a nervous little schoolboy. Oh yeah, so first he saw the little one, heart-shaped, with pieces of chocolate. He bought that, and then later he saw there was a bigger one yet. So he bought the bigger one, he gave that to Mom, and I got the little one. But yeah, he came home so nervous and what are they gonna say? I've never done this before. But it was really funny.
Well, I think I should say a few things too. I've been pretty close to Brother Klaas for many years. I'm just thinking about the things that he many times talked about, so I thought they might be things worth repeating here. One issue was that he was a deacon for many years in the church, and one day he was denounced of taking away his position as a deacon, and he couldn't forget that. But the interesting thing was he still continued to work, almost like he was still the same way. That was the interesting part. He didn't really stop what he was doing in helping people. And anyway, another thing he talked about when he was kidnapped, he said that he was walking for many miles alone in the jungle when he came out. And but every so often he stopped and talked to God. And it was a personal talk. I mean, he was talking to God just like to another person, to a friend. And he asked God, well, what will happen from here? And then God told him, me and you can arrange that right here, what will happen next, what will happen with this case. And I guess that was the unforgettable thing that, there was no question that he talked to God. And the thing was, okay, what are we going to arrange then? And God tell him if he is willing and ready, well, he can arrange it here. So he said, well, I'll do anything to settle this matter, whatever it costs. And then, and so it was. There was, none of the 6 men were lost their life that were kidnapped. So that's a story that he have talked about many times. That was the other thing was that he, I guess I'm telling you all the sad stories here, but anyway, where Paul got accidented on a bridge there, there was construction work done and nobody put a sign up, and that's how the accident, he thought that caused the accident, but anyway, it was a very costly, and he never did recover, so that was hard on his mind. And but he really took things, and he was one of the most patient men I ever knew, and we could all say that. He was very strong in character, and we'll really miss him. He had his problems too in finding direction spiritually. He always talked about that there's too much divisions spiritually, the church groups, disagreements. He don't like that. He have talked about that a lot. There should be more unity in the Christian groups. And he had worked on that for quite a bit. So we'll really miss him. And God bless the family.
All right, we'll give you a couple minutes here yet. We need to shut down because of protocol.
Good evening, everyone. I feel like I owe Mr. Klaas and his wife a few words of gratitude and appreciation. It's only a couple of weeks ago he still came and gave my dad a massage. And when he found out that my dad was sick, I found he had a real heart. He said he wanted to do, well, they both wanted to help in whatever way they could. And they gave us advice. They came over, gave massages, and then they said in a couple of days they would come back and give another massage. But I noticed already when he finished my dad's massage, I was noticing he was breathing kind of heavy and he was sweating a lot. And then he said he would come back in a few days, but then later he let me know he couldn't come because he wasn't doing well. And then still another couple days later, our son had a little accident. He opened a radiator cap and he got hot water over his face, and Klaas was already not doing well, but he still came after hours and he sold me a medication that was really good for burns. So they have been that to me and to our family over many years. I have worked together with him and the emergency board for, I don't know exactly how many years, I'd say close to 10 years we worked together, and I have learned a lot from him. He was my mentor in the medical field. We have had many experiences together. I could share a lot of them, but I know time is running out. But he was one he was willing to train younger guys, and I think that's our responsibility to train young guys that have an interest in something and try to give them the reins or give them the tools that they need. And I always appreciated him in the medical field, and I just wish you God's blessing on you guys.
When I was little, Grandpa would swing the granddaughters on the porch swing so high that our feet touched the ceiling. He showed us love by swinging us. We pretended we had wings. Now Grandpa's father sent his angels to swing him into heaven to be with Jesus forever.
One of my earliest memories of my dad is probably his strong arms picking me up and carrying me into the house when we arrived home from visiting relatives. Us kids would fall asleep on the way home, and even if I woke up, I would fake it so Daddy would carry me in. He would also rub my feet with Vicks if I had a stubborn cough that didn't want to go away. I hated that so much that I made sure I wouldn't be sick again. Daddy taught me to swim when I was 6 years old and got to go to the river every day for months because he needed to do therapy on his shoulder that had been broken, and then it became stiff, so he had to go for therapy. Even though Mom was usually the one that told us stories, one day Dad decided that he would read to us. So he read through the whole book of Hidden Rainbow on Sunday afternoons, chapter by chapter. That was a very special memory for me. And on one of Dad's trips, like to do relief effort after a hurricane, he took me along to Key Cocker for a whole week, and I helped him build houses. I was so blessed to have him walk down the aisle and give me away, and then pray God's blessings on Ronald and me. He was so proud of his son-in-law. Even though he didn't say it much in my childhood, I knew Daddy loved me. During his illness, one day I came to his bedside and he said, "Tina, now you can go and cook some more soup." I always enjoyed making his favorite chicken noodle soup. On another occasion, I sang Jesus Loves Me to him, and he patted his hand along to the beat of the song. I'm so glad that Jesus has freed him from all suffering and pain. No more feeding tubes, catheters, or breathing tubes. Completely healthy and completely free, just like he always liked to be.
Yeah, okay. Isn't carded?
When I was 15 years old, I came to live with 3 years with Klaas and Naita. And then I got upset and I left for Guatemala. But I was very stubborn, very bad. When I was 18, I'm very thankful that Klaas helped me to get my Belizean passport and also a visa. And Klaas was always very smart. He knew how to help me to go to the States, and I thank God for him. And I was very worried when Klaas got sick. I just didn't want him to die. I wanted him to get better. I want to accept that it was God's will that he went, even though it's very hard, and I thank Klaas so much for what he did in my life. Okay, we'll just sing maybe 2 verses. Maybe 3, just so. I remember Daddy's hands folded silently in prayer, reaching out to hold me when I had a nightmare. You could read quite a story in the calluses and lines. Years of work and worry had left their mark behind. I remember Daddy's hands, how they held my mama tight and patted my back for something done right. There are things that I'd forgotten that I loved about the man, but I'll always remember the love in Daddy's hands. Daddy's hands were soft and kind when I was crying. Daddy's hands were hard as steel when I'd done wrong. Daddy's hands weren't always gentle, but I've come to understand there was always love in Daddy's hands.
Third time is a charm. Nu have we Schluss gemacht. All right, have a good evening. Thanks for coming. Pay it forward. Whatever Dad has done for you or your family or your friends, pay it forward. That's the best thing you can live his legacy. Goodbye.